And I even say this considering the fact that this is the deck I fear the most by far, because this has so much answers to my cards.
What are you
But it,
doing? What are you doing? You're giving away the secret sauce. You're telling people like how to beat you.
no, it's it's funny. Like it's the come at me, bro mentality. Like I don't care. Like eventually I'm gonna kick you.
This is Chris Perovic, and I'm here today with Jannick Löwecke, better known as Delinkquent in the Go Format Discord. We're here today to talk about his tournament-winning deck list of FLC13, which was held on April 4th. Jannick, say hello. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey, first of all, thanks for having me. So, as Chris stated out, like I'm probably better known as Delinkquent. I was very lucky recently to get my first strike, so my first bigger tournament win with the deck we are gonna talk about a little bit later. Yeah, so I think I started playing Goat format like around 2 years ago, and attended some tournaments mainly on Format Library and GoatFormat.com. Got some top 8 and top 4 finishes in the past, but yeah, so far this was my biggest strike, and still I'm very excited to talk about this deck, and absolutely glad to have this opportunity. So let's rock this.
So this was just to be clear. You said you got some top 8s and top 4 before. You are like I've seen your name before. We haven't talked a lot, but I know of you. I know to fear you when I run into a tournament, and that's partly because you are never one to use like the commonly accepted best deck. In the past, I think that you're best known for running Burn. Um,
That's true.
I think actually, did we play each other at Worlds?
Yeah, and oh gosh, it was horrible. I played Empty Jar. This is
Right.
probably like the second deck I was slash am infamous for. But to be honest, like at this point, I couldn't care less about goat format. So it's like an on-off relationship with me and goats. I'm pretty sure most Yu-Gi-Oh players know this. So at that point, we definitely played each other, and I think I lost at least not 0-2, but 1-2. And I absolutely didn't play this very well. I remember. I think at one point I was just like, okay, fuck it, set my morphing jar. Come on, you can't have nobleman and doing shit like this. And of course, you had the nobleman, so bye
Of
bye at
course.
that point. So, yeah, that was shitty. But
Yeah.
I think that was the only time we faced each other,
Yeah, I
as far
think.
as I remember.
Yeah, I think that that's right, and I didn't mean to bring that up that for that reason. I just meant to say that like I knew of you, and I know that you're always someone running something interesting. So you're somebody that I've been paying attention to, and to that point that like I don't do videos like this. I don't talk to people about their decks. And that's really mostly because very rarely does anybody do anything truly new in GOAT
Hmm.
format, something that's like worth talking about. But you did, and that's what makes this remarkable. And so that's why we're here. So let me pull up. Let me show everybody what we're talking about here. You ran. Right now, it's just they can't see your face. We're looking straight at the deck list.
Hmm.
You ran a zombie deck with some really interesting tech choices, and I just want to talk about it. I want to know like how you got to this point. Like why'd you use this? How did you do in the tournament? Let's start that by telling people. I mean, they know that you won, but like, was it close? Was it nail biter? Did you get really lucky? Like, how'd your matches go? Like, let's talk about like how you got to the deck, and then how you did, and then go from there and elaborate more on the main deck.
All right. So, zombies is, I mean, I think it feels like an open secret that zombies is kind of fan favorite. I mean, uh, when I was entering Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know, like around 2004. I think zombies were always cards you somehow liked. Like there was Spirit Reaper, there was Vampire Lord, Kokki, Pyramid Turtle. So like back in the days, it always was the thing, at least like not on our local level, and when playing with friends and so on and so on. And I remember in 2007 when, as far as I know, like zombies won the shown jump over there or abroad. In Germany, zombie also was popular and won a Pharaoh tour, which is the European equivalent to shown jump
I
for,
didn't even know
for
that.
No, you didn't know?
No, I knew about Eric Wu, but I had no idea that zombies were making an impact at Pharaoh Tour. So that kind of just I learned that today.
Yeah, a fun fact: it won the Pharaoh to Berlin, where we actually in this very moment, or I am at this very moment. So it actually had an impact in Germany as well. I don't know. I think it finished second at Pharaoh to Hamburg in 2007 as well. So I also back in the days then played it, and it always kept or kept the place in my memory. Let's say it this way. So when I started playing Goat format around 2 years ago, I also designed some zombie deck lists, but they were somewhere in my dueling book stock. I think I got like 50 deck lists or so, and I absolutely like forget about most deck ideas. And yes, shortly before the tournament, I was randomly scrolling through my deck list, and I was then rediscovering zombies, and I was like, man, that might be a funny thing to play. Like I really wanted to play an aggro deck this one time, and not hiding behind level limit or gravity bind. I was, like you say, most people were know me for playing burn or empty jar, and I had a little bit like or people were the reputation of people saying, oh, he's only playing those super weak
Yeah,
decks
you
where
don't know how to play the game for real, right? You only know how to play these trick decks.
yeah, it's true. I mean, sometimes you have a lot more interaction with those decks, as I'd say, as a lot of people would think. But of course, it's like a different game. Let's be honest. Of course, when you have empty jar, for instance, you try to pull off your combo, and regardless what the opponent does, like as long as he doesn't interfere, you obviously. So, I really wanted to do this one time another thing, and surprisingly, it went out so well. So I think it would be super arrogant to say that I would have expected a success, and it couldn't be further away. The day I was actually like not playing competitively. I was more like, okay, let's play cards I had in my head for a long time, and yeah, that's more or less how I came to this deck. But the decision why I played those cards was definitely like monitoring the current meta game. So I saw a lot of aggro decks, a lot of decks running a lot of traps. So my initial zombie builds I had somewhere like laying around unused in my dueling book account were mainly with skill drain, or what was the other thing? I think even some with card of safe return. I
Sure.
tried a little bit, but it didn't really work out that great, and I considered skill drain to not be in this moment a good meta call. So I then came then Royal Decree came in my mind, because Royal Decree is a card like when we were kids, like without any exaggeration, Royal Decree was the very first card to do 3 copies in the side deck because it's so awesome. And when as a burn player, I absolutely know how much you can be screwed if Royal Decree is on the field. So I know this from both sides of the medal, so to say, and then said, hey, you know what? Like Ryo Kokki is 2,400, like even destroys stronger spellcasters / warriors.
Right.
So
That
why
comes
not
out.
combine it?
It comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. So then it was like absolutely like an idea to just combine those two mechanisms, like having Royal Decree and pushing with a lot of big leaders. And yeah, that's how I came to the deck, more or less, in a nutshell.
All right. Well, so I mean, just to touch on some of the things you just said there. So zombies, yeah, for sure. Everybody has a zombie deck on their dueling book count at some point in time. Usually at
Yeah.
the beginning of them playing around with the format outside of the standard decks. It's zombies are always a thing you think about. And Giant Rat and Pyramid Turtle. This is like a classic combination way back dating to even before J. Kim, but popularized by J. Kim and Eric Wu back in 2005. But so I guess the question on the table is: did you want to run zombies, or did you want to run something different, or did you want to run like an aggro deck that could support Royal Decree, but then you kind of like leaned into recruiters a little bit because Decree doesn't protect your life points? Like what made it this and not just like warriors with Decree, or this and not zombies with skill drain, like would be something that you default to? Like why this? What about this metagame made you want to use this?
So the funny thing is, I think it's a perfect hybrid of almost all of the things you just said. So I don't know. I don't feel really motivated to, first of all, to play what everyone else is playing. So I always try to uh, always like compulsory play what no one else plays, or at least what a very 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 niche group of people plays.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, like I think I did this mistake, quote unquote, only once recently. So at the GoatFormat.com team tournament, this one time I was playing a meta deck. I think it was Chaos Warriors, and I got punished very hard because I absolutely suck with this deck. And then I was saying, okay, so like back to square one, pun intended, and play what I used to play. And this is like decks that are different. So this was like the basic principle. And then I also saw that, in my opinion, like the current meta game is very one-dimensional. A lot of aggro decks that very very suffer to Decree. So I definitely like looked at previous tournament results slash previous deck list, and I saw that Warriors were so dominating, along with obviously Chaos, like a Thunder Dragon Chaos. So I I then saw this actually to be a good meta call. So this was the second thing, and then yeah, I really had zombies in my head for a longer time. So it was for me. I don't know. It felt like it was time. It sounds a little bit random, but like I really felt for this tournament, okay, zombies might be a cool thing to play. It was not. I had my reasonings, but I would absolutely lie if I would now come up with something like pseudo sophisticated. I really thought, okay, in this particular field, it might be a good thing to play, and I had some things in my head to consider when building the deck, like how it should look like, including decree and all the stuff you said, like recruiters and so on and so on. And yeah, I think that's how I came up with the list. So probably less spectacular than you might expect.
Okay. So, well, first of all, just to be clear and get it out of the way, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, though, I wasn't really paying attention the day of. It was only after the fact that I was like, oh, this is worth paying attention to. But I think you went 7-0. Is that correct?
I haven't counted. I
Were you
think like
undefeated?
yeah, I were undefeated. I only lost two single games over the whole tournament, but not in one match. So overall, like if you see it like this, in
Yeah.
matches undefeated. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. So, how many of those matches do you know? Like, what was the breakdown of what you played against? Was it a lot of Chaos Warriors or Warrior decks, or more Chaos Turbo decks, or more Thunder Dragon Chaos Control or Go Control decks? Like, do you know the split on any of that?
I think I didn't face a single goat control deck, pure goat control.
Makes sense.
Uh,
It's 2021.
yeah, I mean, and I'm very very happy about this because this would be a horrible matchup for me.
I bet.
Uh,
I
so
bet. Let's just pull up the deck
yeah,
again, just to show people why it's a horrible matchup. Thousand Eyes Restrict kind of
yeah.
poops on
Oh
everything.
gosh. Absolutely. Like and getting rid of it just with
It's a
huge
problem.
minus.
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. So no pure goat control, no combo deck, no reasoning gate. Also very glad because this is always the deck I fear the most by far. Um, then I think one chaos control with metamorphosis against Cameron, I think it was. So this was felt like my hardest matchup. Then I faced two Chaos Return, World Gone Mad and Dingo Sick. And I think then two let's say it was 7-0. Then I think like two Thunder Dragon Chaos and two Warriors as far as I remember. So very mixed, not as
Mm-hmm.
not as homogeneous as I would have expected the field to
Right.
be.
Right. Especially with the two chaos return in there. I mean, I would have expected. By the way, just for the record, I'm going to keep calling it Chaos Turbo, I'm going
I
to call.
won't.
Well, okay. Anyway, and then Cameron's deck Thunder Dragon Chaos Control. But yeah, no. Across 7 matches, you wouldn't necessarily walking into a tournament expect to see a split quite like that, especially with the Chaos Return. I'm surprised. Was that deep into the tournament or early in the tournament?
The Chaos Return.
Yeah.
There were the one was in grand finals,
Oh
Dingo Sick.
wow.
And against World Gone Mad was, I think, top 8 or top 4.
That's great. I mean that. I mean I think Chaos Return's a good deck. It's just I guess I'm surprised when things that people don't expect to do well. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, oh yeah, that's really, it's interesting. It's worth paying attention to. It's also the fodder for future metagame trends. So it's definitely something you want to pay attention to. And like I said, I didn't pay too much attention to that tournament. It was just like I saw the final result and I was like, oh, that's cool. But that's good. Anyway, so okay, so talking about the main deck a little bit. I mean, okay, you want to run zombies, you want to run Royal Decree. Part of it is like I want to have some fun. What made you run now on top of that? I mean, so first of all, if you want to run zombies, like why is there? I mean, I can understand Ryu Kokki. It's bigger than Chaos Sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, off of a Pyramid Turtle, you can even get it when a BLS is double attacking, so it can protect from a double BLS attack. It's a super interesting,
Exactly.
super great interaction. I mean, was there? I mean, I'm looking at card like when I saw this deck and I had a quick powwow with a few people. The first cards that everyone's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna try changing the deck up and improving it and trying my own way. Like everyone's first cards they want to cut are Berserk Gorillas and maybe the Vampire Lord and something else. I don't know what else, but like I guess I'm gonna start there. Like, why did you? I mean, were you expecting more aggro decks or like decks with like Kaiku that you had to play against, where you're like, oh, this Berserker being 2000 is gonna pay off, and Vampire Lord's gonna be really good against a bunch of Sakuretsus or something like that? Did you expect that to happen, or was it just kind of like, I need to fill out slots and I don't know what else to add? Which go on, sorry.
Mm. No, all good. Um, yeah, the thing with Berserker Gorilla is also rather, or let's say like it comes with a little bit of randomness. So, Berserker Gorilla, in my opinion, is one of the strongest level 4 beaters. Like just judging by the fact that you, I mean, of course, like it has absolutely like nothing,
2000.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has 2000, right? You can't do like anything special like with Blade Knight, negating some effects or whatever. But I really tested this deck without the Berserks, and it felt like there was some beatdown power missing. So just Kaikus and turtles and reds felt like not enough pressure because this game was, or when I was playing this deck, I had some games where I didn't, or where my opponent just didn't played a lot of face-up monsters where I could ran my turtles into. So I ended up having like weak monsters like Giant Red or Turtle like for a long time on the game, and couldn't really pressure my opponent too much with this. So then I thought back about which aggro cards there are, and then I had Blade Knight in my mind. But since the deck runs so many monsters, like a lot of times you will end up with Blade Knight with 1000 1600. So wasn't wasn't too well 1600 wasn't too tempting to play Blade Knight. And I think at the beginning of the year I also tried skill drain beatdown, and I played Zombaya, even Goblin Attack Force, and Berserk Gorilla. And Berserk Gorilla was by far the best of those cards. Like it felt like okay, in a pretty let's say quote unquote stupid meta where like decks with just strong monsters have a very very good shot at winning a lot of tournaments. It felt like a good counter because even like walks over, let's say, skilled Dark Magician and other stuff, or can crash in the case of doubt with Blade Knight. So it was like really just the caveman argument saying, okay, Berserk Gorilla is from other aggro decks definitely a very strong card. Like your opponent needs an answer to it, otherwise like you will continuously like pushing with 2000, putting up a clock, I'd say, in a lot of situations. So that's why I wanted to play it, like a little bit relying on the meta game, but also considering that I just this deck just feel like needing more pure beatdown power, and Berserk was the for me the closest choice for this.
So I understand exactly what you're saying in terms of power. I'll tell you that like I gave this a go, this version, some other versions. I was immediately intrigued. I have not done well with it, by the way. But that's also probably because all of my versions drop the Berserk Gorillas, and it's just strikes me as the card. It's like I don't know what I want to do with this 2000 beat stick, but I feel that thing that you're talking about, where it's like, all right, well, like I'm not. How am I winning the game with a 1400 attack monster? And there's not really like a good way to bring out Kokki or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I buy that. I guess I also, just to challenge it a little bit, I'm not knocking your success. Your success is your success. I'm just saying that I think the thing that makes it unintuitive in terms of what's a good meta call right now is because everybody kind of has in their mind that Chaos Turbo is the deck to beat, and Chaos Turbo has 3 Koichi, 3 Faith, 2 Night Assailant, 3 Gravekeeper Spy, right? And then Chaos Sorcerers on top of that. And there literally is a card that I just listed off that Berserk Gorilla does anything against. So it's just like, well, why was it? And I think part of the thing. I think part of the reason why then Berserk Gorilla would be undervalued is that assessment, without also factoring in that Warriors and Chaos Warriors make up a good chunk of the metagame as well. And that is that's just, I mean, Berserk Gorilla just runs over that. So just like the EV that you kind of lose / break even with / I mean, Berserk Gorilla is still a card, like it's still pressure. You could put Berserk Gorilla alongside a Kaiku and hit it at Koichi with the Berserk Gorilla, and then Kaiku can hit direct. It's not useless, but you know, the place where you're breaking even and maybe losing a couple points in terms of that Chaos Turbo matchup, you're definitely making up for that and then some in that aggro matchup. And of course, on top of that, you know, like it works in conjunction with Royal Decree, right? Just to end the game really quickly. And also you've got combos, because you can also do, there are other tricks here. I mean, we haven't touched on all of them, but like Tribute to the Doom, Ryukoki, Destroy a Monster, Book of Life, some Berserk Gorilla, 44 on the board in like one turn. It's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do now? So yeah, I take your point. I guess with that in mind, and I'm now like, we're now talking more about the main deck. Is there anything going in, if you could go back and do this tournament, obviously, I mean, don't change a thing, you won, but I'm just saying, let's pretend that you didn't win for a moment, and you had the opportunity to redo the tournament with that, or at least you didn't have the knowledge that you were going to win, but you just had the experience of playing the deck as many times as you did, and anything after that. Is there anything, if you went to the same tournament again, that you would change, that you felt like maybe didn't work for you? Because I mean, just as an aside, I'm just pointing out some things for our audience right now. Those Berserk Gorillas, like, again, they're unintuitive, I think, at first glance. People look at this also and they're like, well, we're Sanguine and Sinister, right? Because like you've run 3 Tribute to the Doomed. Okay, that's a cool card. Let me use something to make that not a minus. And they don't necessarily make that connection and how it combos with Book of Life, and especially like over something like Back to Square One or yeah, maybe somebody else would be like, oh, let me throw in some scapegoat and metamorphosis because I can, or do I need 3 kaikus right now? Like these are all things, or like is 3 Rio Kokki or Vampire Lord, or is that the number that I want to like? So I guess that's my first question is just if you do this tournament over, would you keep the main deck exactly as it is, or would you change anything?
That's a tough question. I think the number one ingredients of this deck is ignorance. Sounds absolutely stupid, but trust me, when you play such a deck, you have to be very, very ignorant. Meaning like you should always ask yourself like, do I really want to adapt like too much to some tournament situations that occurred, like, or would I just say, okay, the deck itself is in general good. I just continue playing it. And fun fact, I absolutely asked me this very question after the tournament. And if I would look super critically at the deck list, I would say three Tribute to the Doom might be at least one too much. So eventually cut one of them. I had some situations where I had like 2 Tribute to the Doom, and like you said, without Sinister, uh, well, yeah, you definitely risk running out of resources like too fast, so that you can't kill the opponent because you don't have anything left. Then also, like, surprisingly, I felt like Sanguine was missing, not necessarily in conjunction with Sinister Serpent, but I had some situations where I would really like to pull out like Injection Fairy Lily more often, or where I had a dead creature swap in my hand, and like as a 7th recruiter, quote unquote, Sangan would have, I think, done his job. So I think those were the things that came directly after the tournament to my mind. In general, you could also try to test like the standard stuff, like what you said in general, add Sangan, add Sinister, add eventually Delinquent Do. Those are things I'm not too sure yet. I would say I might be worth a shot. Also, a card that might be a good competitor to Berserk Gorilla might be Abyss Soldier. I think if you want to play the deck a little bit more sophisticatedly and not just, okay, I play a strong monster and attack you, then you could eventually also try those things to make the deck a little bit more versatile. But the problem is that you then might risk that you lose the initial ignorance of saying, okay, I just play strong aggressive cards, I don't care about numbers game, and so on and so on. So I see some risk there. But to sum it up, I would probably cut 1 Tribute to the Doomed. I think Vampire Lord is also not really needed. So this would also be a card I would consider cutting. I would probably add a Sangan, and eventually Delinquent Duo, but not too sure about this. But those were some things, and the other stuff like with Serpent, with Abyss Soldier would be something I would definitely will try in the near future, and eventually might go as well to the list.
I got 2 questions. One, you're saying soldier. I don't know if like I'm missing the first part, or it's because your accent. I'm not picking it up. Don't take that the wrong way. I just which we talk. Are you talking about Black Luster Soldier?
No, Abyss Soldier.
Oh,
Like
Abyss Soldier.
Oh, Abyss Soldier. Sorry, Abyss Soldier.
Got you. Okay.
Makes sense pronunciation.
It's
Abyss
like
Soldier.
it actually didn't even pick it up on the caption, so I'm just like, oh, did I miss a word there? Was it? I just okay, Abyss Soldier. I got you. The water monster 1800.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Then especially if you add the Sinister too.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you. So that's the first question. The second question is like, how do I put this? So there's some people, and well, let me just say, so it's not unheard of right now when Chaos Turbo plays against Chaos, or if anybody plays against Chaos Turbo, that they side out Delinquent Duo going when they don't go first. So when they go open up second, like it's not unheard of. People do that. So I just want to ask the question: is there no Delinquent Duo here for that reason, or no Delinquent Duo for some other reason? Because I have a thought about that, and I just want to know what your thoughts were first.
Yeah, so the reason why there's no delinquent duo is just absolutely like, first of all, again, being ignorant and like changing the general view of, okay, you must gain card advantage. I absolutely couldn't care less about card advantage. I won a lot of games like with -5 or so. And delinquent duo, first of all, is a card that generates advantage. Of course, you can also eventually steal very unpleasant cards from your opponent's hand, but yeah, like you say, I think against Thunder Dragon Chaos, when you're not starting, you might end up like T-Drags or Assailants or Serpent Soul cards that don't really do anything. I mean, on the other hand, you definitely have the synergy with 3 Kaikus and 3 Book of Life, so even if you hit a Sinister Serpent, you could probably get rid of it very soon. So you might argue against this, but also I think in aggro decks, Delinquent Duo is a great card to start with, probably one of the most nasty cards to start with. But there are a lot of situations where I think comparable to Trap Dust Shoot, where you draw it like in mid game or late game, which you rarely see with those aggressive decks, but where you just draw it and it doesn't do anything.
Right.
So I'd prefer to have a card that has an active impact on the field, rather destroying something, summoning something, than just eventually end up like just doing something in the hand that is irrelevant for this deck.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'll buy that. I mean, I don't know if I would follow that, but I buy it. I mean, it makes sense. I also think, there's when you're playing an aggro deck. I'm to your point. Yeah, I mean, if you open up with it, it's one of the most powerful ways to open up. It's really annoying, but if you get past even turn 4, there's too many situations where number one, your first card is going to be random, and you're hoping that that's not a Night Assailant or Thunder Dragon or whatever. But the second thing is the second card's probably going to be Nobleman. And when you're running a
Yeah,
deck like this, it's like, okay, did I really want my draw for the turn to be something that wasn't going to put pressure on my opponent's life points,
exactly.
just to pick off one random card and the nobleman that he wasn't going to use anyway. And also, this also touches on the other thing I meant to say earlier was that Sangan, I think, is actually like maybe something that a lot of I don't know what's the best way to put this. I think like a lot of people would think about an aggro deck and they're thinking, okay, well, Blade Knight will put pressure on the face downs and I can trade off, and if Chaos Sorcerer comes down and removes a Blade Knight, it's even. Chaos Sorcerer can't come down and remove a Kaiku, so I don't have to worry about that. And they might also run things like this isn't that popular, but let's say like DD Assailant, DD Warrior Lady. These things will trade more often than not / be my answer to Chaos Sorcerer or something like that. So like I think like a different person making a different kind of aggro deck will kind of think in terms of this advantage mindset, in terms of like how do I not go minus to Chaos Sorcerer. But this deck in particular, I mean, when you run recruiters, there's no running away from it. Like you put a recruiter face up on the board, it's going to be fodder for Chaos Sorcerer. And I think the challenge that, like, one of the things I saw with this, the thing that I saw that stood out as a big challenge was like, what do you do against a sorcerer in defense mode? And I mean, Tribute to the Doomed, the concept, the thing that makes this interesting is that Tribute to the Doomed, just as a discard outlet for the tribute monsters that you're not going to have time to tribute for, or it's not going to be free to tribute for. That's one, and that you also ran. The Kaikus along with this, it makes it different, fundamentally different than any other zombie deck that I think anyone has ever tried to build before. Also with the Decree. Decree is obviously huge. But I'm just saying that those Tribute to the Dooms give you something. It doesn't have to be Tribute to the Doomed. I don't think it had to be. I think you could have done this differently with, I'm making this up, like say Smashing Grounds and maybe just 2 Ryo Kokkis or something like that. I don't know if like that would have been as good or something like that. But I'm just saying that those extra slots handle that defense mode sorcerer in a way that I don't think previous zombie decks are kind of like equipped to deal with. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really interesting. It also happens to also not only in that scenario, but also in the face down Magician of Fate scenario. So it's like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. This is, I mean, I've talked to you about this personally before, but something I was looking at myself. I mean, I think I also agree with you that I think World Decree is a really strong card right now. It's really good against aggro decks, really good against Chaos Turbo. But you know, my vehicle for trying to play it was Soul Control, and one of the reasons was I was trying to use Soul Exchange against face down Magician of Faith. That was like one of my arguments. Also, one of my arguments was 2400 is bigger than 2300, so like I can negate the advantage generated by a Chaos Sorcerer just by attacking over it. Where you're doing something similar, where you're saying, okay, all I need is an attack mode monster. I'll crash into it and run over the sorcerer, and that's a 1-card combo, whereas Soul Control's a 2-card combo to make that happen. So it's like, oh, actually, I guess what I'm trying to say is, this zombie deck has a built-in way to answer a couple different scenarios that I don't think zombie decks have had before, and I think that's what makes the main deck interesting. And before I move on from that, I'm just gonna say, is there anything else you want to talk about main deck? Like, I mean, I think the rest of it kind of speaks for itself. I'm gonna just pull it up on the screen one more time. But is there anything else you want to touch on here that was worth noting?
I mean, eventually coming to what you said with Smashing Ground, I think that's an interesting idea in general. I had the same before the tournament, but then backed out of this idea because of exactly the scenario of facing a lot of face down monsters, which is a common scenario when playing against a lot of decks that play Magician of Faith and so on and so on. To be honest, I definitely had a lot of situations where I had to use Tribute to the Doom as an expensive Smashing Ground. So, like, at some point, I think I even destroyed a face-up spy. This is like, I don't know, like, this is so horrible. Like, this goes against everything against every basic principle of Yu-Gi-Oh! You could think of. So in general, I think Tribute to the Doomed is a card you could talk about, but I tried. I think like within the last days, I tried one version without Tribute to the Doomed. So first of all, when putting this card into the deck, it was more like a trollish aspect, because it's like an OG card from back in the days, and I was like, okay, let's play something absolutely super stupid. And I still would say it's not as stupid as I initially thought, because I tried a version with Book of Moon to eventually like prevent my Kokkis from dying to Sorcerer and so on, also having better answers to 1000 Eyes, but it was definitely not very comparable. So Tribute, I think, is definitely a card like you say that was eventually not considered before, but I think you really might need it. And I personally like the versatility of the card towards like Smashing Ground. Plus, a lot of times I really did like this play, like Tribute, discarding Kokki immediately afterwards Book of Life, which is like, if you have a Berserker Ruler or a Kaiku, it's like a 2-turn clock. If your opponent doesn't have an answer, then that's game over, and that's something you couldn't do with Smashing Ground alone. So I think that's in general something you could speak of. I think Smashing Ground might be a card you could play, but I would not necessarily. But like I said, I think Abyss Soldier might be a card you could eventually try, because it also bounces back cards. I think that's a very interesting card. This is probably like my idea for the main deck at the moment, but since I haven't tested it, it could be absolutely horrible. So and eventually changing Call of the Haunted versus, like, let's say, Ring of Destruction might also be an opportunity. If I cut one Tribute to the Doomed, then I fodder my grave less with, and I also would cut Vampire Lord. So eventually this might be something you could also say about the main deck. But yeah, despite from that, I think we summed it up already pretty good.
I think so too. And to that point, let's move on to the side deck. Let's not spend as much time on it. Let me first ask, how much in this tournament did you utilize your side deck?
Oh, horribly little. So I didn't really thought too much about this side deck, and I think the side deck is horrible, like absolutely like garbage.
Pulling that up again, showing people what it looks like.
Yeah, like skilled in Trap Dust Shoot. For instance, Trap Dust Shoot, I sided a single time. against Dingosick in finals. Fortunately it won me game 3 because I
Wait,
knew
that's
his
the,
hand.
you cited it against Chaos Return?
Yeah, yeah, because going first. I know that's ballsy, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, when you go first, you're like, you know what? I need to draw
exactly.
shove this. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. It was the look, Mama, I'm on camera moment. I was like, okay, let's just do something absolutely stupid, and it worked out, which is awesome. But yeah, despite from that, I mainly had it in my side deck against combo decks to interfere with them. So the initial idea of Death Shoot was not siding it actually in against chaos or other decks. I'd rather keep my decrease then. And in general, the the bad interaction of both cards is a good argument to not side it in at all. But also like skill drain. I think I sided in once also again against the
Cameron?
chaos control. Yeah,
Yeah.
against Cameron.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
guess what? It also won me the game.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, this was very lucky. But I think I would rather go for King Tiger Wangu. I think is probably a card.
That's kind of spicy
Yes.
with your recruiters.
Siding out giant rats
Okay,
and
the
just
turtles
keeping in
because
the
they can.
turtle. Hmm.
I understand.
Yeah,
That's spicy. I like
yeah. I
that.
think has definitely some downside with my main deck. But I mean, in general, let's say you're playing against
Does more harm to them.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I would side out creature swap anyway because I don't want to end up
With a goat
getting
token.
goated.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
that's why I said it's spicy. That's really interesting. I'm shocked actually that it's not in the side deck or wasn't in the side deck for this event. Uh,
Yeah.
I like that. What about these spell cancelers? I mean, I also think the kinetics. I thought that was kind of cute. I was like, oh yeah, you have a giant rat. You can just run into there or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, how often? Did you side in kinetics? Did you side in noble extermination? How'd that go, if anything?
Yeah, so kinetic, I sided at least one against warrior. I think most likely two, because that's why I ran two. Even though looking back at it, I definitely would only go for one to have the, like you said, to have the toolbox with giant red. But two is probably too much. Nobleman of Extermination, I've never played in my life before, but I actually like more or less net deck this. I think I saw it on some warrior list in the recent past, and then was like, okay, makes eventually sense because in some situations decree didn't felt like present enough because you don't always have it on your opening hand, and I wanted to have more because a lot of people side in Sakuretsu armor or Widespread Ruin. So I wanted to have like this extra spell and trap removal. I think I bought it very randomly, but came quite juicy when I had it. But it's not a card I would necessarily run in the future as well. And also what you said, spell canceler. I didn't cite it a single time, but was for combo decks, so
Yeah.
I didn't face any. So no, not necessary.
Um, okay. All right. Well, I guess then with that said, um, okay. So I guess my question is, let's pretend there's a tournament tomorrow. Are you loading up this deck? Are you loading up zombies? Are you loading up anything similar?
Similar, yes. 1-to-1, no.
Okay.
So I would. So I don't know. Like I really like experimenting, and I then would rather try something like Abyss Soldier or at least a slight change of main deck. I would definitely change the side deck. So I wouldn't run 1-to-1 this deck, but I could definitely imagine playing at least a very similar deck in the near future again. Yes.
Nice. That's. I mean, this is just a giving reason for the audience to consider using it themselves. They don't think it's like a they to know that you don't think that it's a one and done type thing, that you just got lucky and it's like, oh, thank God, I'm gonna wash my hands of that and never talk about that again. But that you have the confidence to run it again. I mean, that tells people something, and it should tell them something that maybe they don't already know. Because I mean, let me ask you this: in your experience, have you been playing a lot in the last 2 weeks? I mean, it's been 2 weeks since your tournament win. Have you been playing on Dueling Book rated at all or anything? Have you interacted with other people who are playing?
Very, very, very little. So a tiny little bit. A friend of me who's also into goats, and we played, I think like 5 matches or so. But despite from that, not too much. I definitely should. I mean, I wrote you also like beforehand that I should actually write my master thesis right now. So I definitely should do better things in the book. So I always try to fulfill my obligations first. So I really try to keep my dueling time as short as possible right now. So not too much, just a little bit.
That is super responsible and super unlike me. If I had more time, I think I'd play and over my obligations. It's just there's so few hours in the day. And I also don't play that much. I haven't played that much in the past 2 weeks either. However, every couple days I will check out the discords, the Go Format discords, the Format Library discord, just to see if like anything interesting is going on or whatever. I also get messages on Discord from people like anytime my name comes up in a conversation, somebody's always like sending me something, or anytime something interesting happens. Like actually, that's my notification system. I just rely on other people. That's how I knew that you won the tournament, because people are like, oh, check out this thing. Anyway, not my point. My point is that. In the last 2 weeks, I'm actually shocked. I mean, I reached out to you, I think the same day, or at least like as soon as I heard about it, I was like, hey man, good job. Like I'm really proud that this happened. It's really exciting. But I don't know. I feel like not a lot of people talking about it. I feel like I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just my impression is that this is being slept on right now. Like, or people, I don't know if it was because Jazz, I understand, I'm not sure when he posted it, but I understand there was a delay from when the tournament happened to when the lists were published. So like I can understand that like maybe people don't know what you used, but I think he had that out like sometime in the past 2 weeks. I don't know when, and like I would have expected more people to talk about this, because for me this is the most remarkable thing that's happened in like a couple years. I just can't.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I just can't. I would have lost so much money if I was betting on this tournament. Just even right up to the finals. Like I'm just saying, I would have lost so much money. And so that's the idea that I would be surprised is exciting to me. And I wish I just haven't had a lot of conversations where other people told me, yeah, like I'm using zombies now too. So I guess that's kind of my question. But if you haven't been playing me, or you don't have a good read on like what other people are using, maybe you don't know an answer. But I guess just, do you think that people, and if you don't know, you don't know, but do you think that people are giving this a fair shake? That people are giving it the look at it that you think it deserves? That people, do you think that people generally agree with you that it's worth using? I guess that's my question. If you don't know, how can you speak on other people? But is that like, do you have that impression or no?
So first of all, I'm also not like too much active on Discord, but out of curiosity, of course, like yes, absolutely. It's not really my world. I don't like the general interface and having like 10 different conversations at the same time.
24/7. That's the other.
24/7.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Could you imagine talking about Yu-Gi-Oh all day, every day? It's not
Nah.
that there are people in the Discord. I mean, maybe there are, but it's not necessarily that there are people in Discord that are individuals that are specifically talking every waking moment. It is that the cumulative effect of people talking about it means there's a never-ending conversation about it. It's very overwhelming to me, and I can't follow it, and I don't want to, because it's so fleeting. Like nobody remembers what anybody talked about a week ago. Like why would you waste your time participating in that?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking Discord. There's a lot to be gained from that. There's a lot to be learned from it. But I'm just saying, I find it really hard to follow, and in particular the user face. Like I can't. The idea that everyone's trying to have the same conversation at once in one channel, like that is really annoying. Like that is not how conversations work in real life at all. Like you would think that there's like, I'm not saying we should go back to forums, but like forums were at least, here's a topic, everyone in this thread is going to talk about this topic, and we can stay on topic, and you can quote people, reply to people directly, and you're not being sidelined by someone else's conversation
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm not saying forums are what we need to go back to, but the and Discord being like instantaneous. I don't know. So anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. Anyway, sorry. Back to your impressions. Do you think that people are given this fair shake?
I think not yet. I think right now it's so what I read in this Discord was like very like let's say controversial. So a lot of people said, okay, the deck is awesome. It's something new. Others said, okay, it's a one-hit wonder, and look how fragile the build is, and so on and so on. So I think right now it's there are probably, as far as I would estimate, not too many people giving it a fair shot, and I think it probably relies on the upcoming tournaments. I mean, the problem is obviously, like, let's hypothetically say the next tournament I run zombies and I get kicked out because, I don't know, I brick or my opponents just play better or whatever. Doesn't necessarily mean that then this deck would be bad, but I'm pretty sure people would then come to the conclusion, oh look, we predicted it, it's just a one-hit wonder. So I definitely say, if I would estimate it, I think right now in this very meta game, which constantly changes, but I'd say zombie is, I'd say, at least a tier 2 deck. So I would say eventually even like between tier 1 and tier 2. So I personally would say it has a lot of potential, but people gotta have the guts to actually play it on a tournament and not say, okay, I'm rely on my Chaos Warrior, on Thunder Dragon Chaos, whatever, that actually a deck that is actually proven, like, okay, you can change like small amount of cards, but in general you have a very solid core. And like in the past there's a lot of evidence that those decks can constantly win tournaments. I think if more people right now would say, okay, let's have the guts, let's play this, let's give it a fair shot, then a lot of people would see that it's probably better than they initially thought. Some might also be disappointed because, of course, like, this deck has a lot of brick potential. But speaking from my own experience, when I play Thunder Dragon Chaos, I bricked so hard a lot of times. So it's not always like Thunder Dragon, Graceful, and Pot of Greed. It's not the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if people would give it an objective shot, then I think the deck could get around for some time. But I don't see it not yet. So I think some let's say some brave pioneers eventually need to give it another very good finish at another tournament. I think then the point would come where people would look at it more objectively.
For sure, yeah, that would definitely be a tipping point in the public perception of the playability of the deck. I'd say, not for nothing. I mean, this is a point I made in that Soul Control video I did a while ago, that there are, I mean, like, I'm just gonna quickly get 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like there's like 700 tournaments this year that you can qualify for Worlds at, and there's no shortage of opportunities for people to play. And it's not just like standard double elimination tournaments. You're also gonna have team tournaments. You're gonna have like these like, you have to fit 5 Exodia pieces in your deck kind of tournaments. There's gonna be so many different opportunities for people to qualify for Worlds that I really don't think that any individual person loses out by taking a tournament here or there to play the zombie deck that they always wanted to play, or in my case, like, play the Soul Control deck that they've just been like waiting like 15 years to play, or anything like that. I'm just like, there's so much room in this format for these tier 1 or tier 2 decks to show up and just have a good day. And even if you're not reinventing the wheel, even if you're not like putting a combination of cards into a pre-existing deck type in a way that like nobody else had done before, even if you're not doing that, just the concept of trying out something new for the sake of trying something new, for me, I feel like that's more interesting than looking at Reclair's worlds list and just loading that up and just let me type in. Let me try. Did I draw the Graceful Thunder Dragon? I mean, then that's for me. That's like I could see myself in for a certain event if I'm just like if I've only got one event or if I'm pressured on time, like okay, I will use what I think is the best deck. But if I'm gonna be around and it's only April, like if I'm gonna be around for like the next 6 months and I'm gonna be active on the Discord and I'm gonna have 5 to 10 shots at something, I'd say you just I don't see the harm. I don't see how anybody like loses out. I don't think they go from having 100% chance to qualify down to 5% a chance to qualify just because they want to use like a deck like this. And I wish more people were influenced by your example. I hope that you do try it again, and I hope that you are successful again to just kind of hammer home that message. I take your point that like if you I mean statistically, don't take this the wrong way, you're likely to get knocked out and not
Absolutely.
win the next. Yeah. So the fact that like anybody would look at that and not give this deck a second thought. I mean, it's a frustrating fact about our community that like we tend to learn the lessons like way after they're taught to us, and it's well, anyway, we'll see what happens. So with that, I guess, I mean, that's all I got. I feel like we talked about all the things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the main deck. I want to talk about your process. I want to talk about, I guess I want to touch a little bit more on Royal Decree, but it's fine. I mean, Royal Decree is a really good card. We both know that. And I guess going forward, that's probably the only thing I've got left that's on my mind. Going forward, do you think that the metagame is, I want to say, what's the word, as breakthroughable? Like, I mean, you said before that I think the word you said was linear, but I don't know if that was the actual word. But you said something about like that Chaos Turbo and aggro decks have this common weakness. For me, I have identified the weakness as like a heavy reliance on traps, and that's why I think Royal Decree is really good. But in general, do you think that the format going into the next event is going to be as exploitable, I'd say, or do you think that people are going to wise up to the threats that aggro decks face and side deck harder for them? And maybe not with traps. Maybe you see more people bringing back Messenger of Peace and Swords of Revealing Light or something like that. Do you think that's going to happen, or what?
So hands down, first of all, I'm not the most competitive player overall. So to eventually like go back very quick to what you said previously, and then come back to your last question. I would always like rather try something creative. So I personally like wouldn't mind too much how the meta game after this develops right now. But if I would have another point of view, like let's say it's not me speaking, who rather play something innovative, then I would probably right now say that right now is the best time for playing Thunder Dragon Chaos Control with Metamorphosis and Scapegoat to really exploit the meta game. I think this might exploit the meta game even more than like an aggro zombie deck, because I think like you see constantly people winning with warriors, not playing Book of Moon, and stuff like this. I'd say there is a lot to abuse, and in my humble opinion, like if you don't want to go for creativity, if you just want a rock solid deck, play Chaos with Metamorphosis, Scapegoat, and then you at least have a very, very good shot to win. And I even say this considering the fact that this is the deck I fear the most by far, because this has so much answers to my cards.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're giving away the secret sauce. You're telling people like how to beat. Anyway,
yeah, it's funny. It's it's funny. Like it's the come at me, bro mentality. Like I don't care. Like and then have my King Tiger Wang who in my board and my mind control eventually. And yeah, then we're gonna see game 2 and game 3 what's going on. And eventually I'm gonna kick your ass in game 1. Absolutely. Like still. like my deck is caveman. I put a 2 or 3 turn clock on the field. Like if you not have your scapegoat, there's nothing to save you, right? So I'd say let's see. But this would be like if you really wanna just play for the title, just play for the wins. Then probably go for chaos control. But well, despite from that, I think there's still a lot of room for other ways to exploit the format. I think it's definitely still possible unless people really start to make their main decks more versatile again, like maining Book of Moon again, or compulsory evacuation device, stuff like this. Or even King Tiger Wang, who when you see more of those cards, then it's harder to exploit because then every deck has an answer against almost every possible deck. But right now, I feel like decks with Metamorphosis and Scapegoat in general are the blind spot of a lot of players. So yeah, if you want to go for just competitive attitude, play those decks would be my recommendation.
All right. Well, with that recommendation, I'm gonna cut this off. I don't think we're gonna get anything better out of this, and it's been a pretty long video as it is. So, Jannick, listen, I appreciate you sitting here and talking to me about this. I don't think either one of us are the kind of people that like droning on and on and on about Yu-Gi-Oh. But I appreciate that we're doing it. I mean, I hope our audience appreciates it. I hope they got something out of this video. I know I did. And I just want to turn it over to you. Do you have anything to say? Close this out.
Just thanks for having me. First of all, like definitely, it's it's very funny, like because as a kid, like we had in Germany, we had also like some forums. So I definitely would also be Team Forum instead of Team Discord, just as a side note. We also checked like metagame.com, and of course I saw that you currently like somehow like backed it up on your server, or how does it work? I never really followed it, but I see it in the domain. So probably you saved it, and it's funny, like it's definitely cool to I don't know, like talk to you like personal. I think it's a very very interesting thing because we were following all those metagame coverages, and obviously, like for instance, my brother was a big Diamond Dude Turbo fan, so I definitely, yeah, that's, by the way, that's the fact. Diamond Dude Turbo is the reason I don't call Thunder Dragon Chaos decks
Because
turbo
it's not
decks.
turbo, yeah.
Yeah, you know, right? You have your card destruction and stuff, but you don't reasoning through 20 cards of your deck like in a single turn. So but that's just an absolutely random and unnecessary side note. So no, it's super funny because I know your face from back in the days. Like I don't want to go too much into the fanboy mode because otherwise you probably feel super awkward, right?
No, keep going. No, it's fine. Go on. No,
go on. But it's pretty cool to talk to you, and we really enjoyed the interview as well. So absolutely very very glad to got the opportunity, and yeah, I think everything else is said, and
yeah,
thanks a lot, sir.
Believe me when I say it has been my pleasure. I don't like to trade on my name, or the fact that it's just a fact that I played in 2005, and that like my name happens to be on metagame. It's nothing that I think I try to take advantage of nowadays. So I just, and in particular because I'm really not as active or as competitive as I was back in 2005. I'm just not. Back then that was my heyday when I was all about playing. So I mean, I guess my point is that for me, I am an outsider. I feel like an outsider more than an insider, even though people really closely associate my name with Go format. Like I truly do feel like, you know what, this is somebody else's time. This is like a different community than the one I grew up with, and I'm just kind of like along for the ride now. I'm also anyway. So my point is that like for me, I look at this kind of thing as an opportunity for me to re-engage with the community in a way that is comfortable for me, that doesn't require me to be typing on Discord 24/7, and it could do it in a way that like I feel like I can contribute some of my own individual value to. So it's not just like I'm playing by somebody else's rules. So believe me when I say this, I mean, the truly the pleasure is all mine, and this is
Thank
something
you.
I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do with you, because like I said, I've been keeping an eye on you for a while, and you did something fucking amazing here. So congratulations
Thank you.
again
Thank you.
on your tournament win, and I wish you nothing but success on the next time. Hope we do this again after that.
Gladly.
All right, take care, man.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.